Doing a quick read of the mainstream media reports on the state of the Canadian economy this morning, what really is just beginning to become tiring, and just leaving me lost for words is this constant finger pointing towards the U.S. Blaming the tariffs, blaming Trump, blaming this growing sense of American protectionism for the state of the Canadian economy and for businesses or companies losing business, primarily due to the inability to export to the U.S. without incurring increased costs. Again, this is just major distraction. The state of the Canadian economy, I think, if we're being honest, has, of course, it's always going to be impacted by the trade relationship with the US. But let's look closer to home here. One company, one report focus on this one company who has seen a 50% decline in business, or in trade with their American customers, primarily because of the recently enacted duty-free exemption elimination that the Americans once gave. So if an American was to buy products from Canada, they had an $800 duty-free exemption, which was pretty great for American consumers. I think in Canada it's a pitiful $40 or something like that. And so because of that, they've seen a massive drop in business. So again, blame the Americans, blame the Trump administration for taking this away, for losing Canadian business. As a consumer myself, I would love to buy from Canadian companies. Often what stopped me from doing this was, one, the increased cost. Everything in Canada costs a whole lot more than it does in the US. And the shipping costs are absolutely absurd within Canada. Now, some years ago, I had a small company where I was retailing special event products, and just the cost of shipping within Canada was absurd, absolutely absurd. And at the same time, the United States Postal Service had a program where if it fit in a certain size box, shipping across the United States was $5, no matter where it was going. That didn't exist here. As soon as you go to the post office in Canada, I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this, you go to the post office within Canada, and the first thing they do, even if you've got an envelope, the first thing they do is pull out this piece of plastic with a little microscopic slit in it, and they weakly attempt to push the envelope through this little slot. And if it doesn't fit, then it becomes parcel prices, or the cost increases exponentially. Shipping within Canada is absolutely absurd. Not just the shipping costs, but the trade barriers that exist between provinces. Now, there are certain things I like to buy. You see my other videos, cigars. I like to sample different whiskeys. But I'm limited to what I can purchase provincially. I would love to buy whiskies from other provinces because there's more choice. There's alternative choices, but it's illegal to ship alcohol and cigars from one province to another province. So I would love to support these suppliers, these vendors, but I can't. I'm limited. I'm not going to drive all the way from Ontario to Alberta to pick up a bottle of whiskey. That's absurd. I would love to have them ship it to me, but no, because of the laws in place, because of the trade restrictions in place, I'm prohibited from doing that. The trade restrictions within Canada stop a lot of business. A lot of tradesmen, a lot of professionals cannot work in other provinces because of, again, restrictions preventing certain trades, certain craftsmen from going from one province to another province. I don't need to get into the overall costs in Canada, primarily because of taxes. The price of petrol, gasoline at the pumps is absurd, and it goes up and up and up. And obviously, there's a trickle-on effect from this. Taxes are killing. The taxes are what is killing Canadian business. Food costs are through the roof. I frequently I watch a lot of the UK media, talk to my family, and what they speak about in terms of their weekly costs for just for living, for groceries, for food, for energy costs to heat their homes. Now, energy, the UK is paying some of the highest energy prices in the world right now. And my aunt recently mentioned how much she spends a month on her electricity costs, a lot less than what I'm paying here in Canada. Um, and despite that, the electricity company that I'm subject to has just applied to the provincial regulators in charge of this for an increase in the delivery costs. They're going up and up and up. And of course, you don't have a choice in Canada. You have to heat your homes, especially when in maybe it's beautiful today. In a couple of months, it's going to be minus 20 Celsius. You have no choice but to heat your homes, or else you're going to die. Food costs are going up. Energy costs are going up. Mark Carney keeps expanding the size of the government. So our taxes are going to increase, or they're not going to go down at least. Canada or the Canadian government, the Canadian approach to doing business is what is killing Canadian businesses. Not Trump, not the US, not the tariffs, not the elimination of certain duty-free allowances. That's not killing business here. Business would explode in Canada if the government was to get out of the way. Get out of the way of home building, get out of the way of resource extraction, get out of the way of selling gas overseas. Just get out of the way. Let people do business freely. Let people do business freely. Reduce the taxes. Take away all of these ridiculous barriers, and we will see business explode in Canada. People are just becoming tired. They're becoming tired, and this is killing growth. It's killing people's desire to be entrepreneurs. When I first came to Canada, compared to Europe, it was night and day. There was such a sense of energy here. There was a belief that you could do anything you wanted to. You could achieve whatever you wanted to as long as you worked for it. As long as you hustled and you put effort and energy into it, you could achieve absolutely anything you wanted to. You could own a home. Um, you know, I've worked hard over the last number of years. I managed to build businesses, and I did fairly well. I'm still working hard. When I first came to Canada, I had a job lined up, but that job fell through. I came here, I was earning minimum wage. My very first job in Canada, I was earning minimum wage. Despite that, I was able to pay all of my rent. I was able to pay all of my, obviously utilities, groceries, and there was still enough, a little bit left over at the end of the week. Try and do that today. Try and do that today. Anybody who's earning minimum wage, you can't get by. You cannot afford to rent an apartment. You cannot afford to buy the groceries and healthy food you want to eat. Things changed here significantly, and people are giving up. People are just tired, and it's the government, it's our own government in Canada that is beating people down. Take away these restrictions, allow people to realize the benefits of working hard, because all that's happening right now is that we're being punished. The harder you work, the more you earn, the more taxes you're going to pay. Just the level of tax, everywhere you turn, you're paying tax. We are being taxed to absolute death. Decrease the energy costs, make business easier to do, and stop blaming the Americans. It is not Trump. It is not the Americans that are doing this to Canada. It's our own government that is doing this to us. Anyway, I just wanted to share some thoughts. Pure frustration again, reading the mainstream media, usual finger pointing, just tiring. We are due for change here. Canada is due for change. As much as other countries, especially the UK, is due for massive change, Canada is due for some significant, massive changes here. All right, guys, just wanted to vent some frustration, share some thoughts. If you haven't already, would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you like this video, giving it a thumbs up. And let me know your thoughts. Are you feeling this? Are you feeling this fatigue? Just this inability to for Canada to grow to realize its full potential? Or are we just going to continue just wallowing? That's how it feels right now. We're just marking time. We're just wallowing and just trying to get by day to day. It's not a way to live.